Hello everybody, this is Kyrix with another episode of This Week in Kyrix. Today is Wednesday, September 19th, 2018. Sorry, I kept wanting to say different things. I kept wanting to say the 29th. We're not there yet. So, last time I went off on a long spiel about movies that I never quite finished. But, you probably haven't seen that yet, because I haven't put it up yet. As of recording this, it's still sitting in my hard drive, unaired. Because, you know, I'm good at keeping track of shit. Come here, piggy. There's meat in your body, and I'm going to have it. So, let's see here. Pokemon went pretty well. I'm 2 wins by my math, but allegedly just 1 win away from being done for the month. Which is good, because next week is the last week. The stage is set for my big super tournament that I've been talking about for a while. It will be held on the 9th, so that's fun. And I seem to have gotten everyone's curiosity awakened about the tournament, because everyone said basically the same thing of, oh, I can't enter, I won't win, I don't have good Pokemon. I'm like, no, you have just as much chance of winning against anyone else who enters. And nobody knows what to make of that, except for me. So it's just kind of fun to watch the gears turning in their heads as they struggle to figure out what the fuck I'm going on about. And what kind of weirdness I've got in store for everybody. But, yeah, some of them are less enthused about the idea because they're like, oh, I'm not as good. And I'm like, no, you've got just as much of a chance to win if you know your stuff. And they do. And one person even said, oh, you're going to win. I'm like, no, I'm only entering if less than 8 people enter, and even then, I'm ineligible to win. You can score points off me, but I likewise cannot score points off you. So that'll be interesting. Other than that, not a lot going on. Watching movies, playing Neverwinter Nights 2, working on Pokemon. Oh yeah, I forgot to do this. And I've been playing Battle Cats. It's a game that that Markiplier played on his channel like a couple days ago. And it looked fun, and it was free, and I needed a new time waster, and I've been playing it, and it's fun. But let's go through some of the movies I saw. There will be spoilers for quite a few movies. No, you know what? No, there won't, because I don't remember what I talked about last week, and knowing me, my ideas have changed enough that I'll probably say something completely different than I said last time. But I want to say, I am pretty much absolutely fucking done with any channel talking Star Wars movies. I really, really fucking am. I've had it. I've had about as much of that bullshit as I can handle. And it's not even the whole SJW versus anti-SJW thing, because I actually believe that SJWs are quite a problem in the entertainment industry. But here's the thing. You've got all these people who are Star Wars fans bitching about SJWs, but these are people I don't consider to be Star Wars fans because they're movie casuals. And I've gone off many times on what a movie casual is, but basically it's someone who doesn't realize that Star Wars isn't a movie series. And if you heard me say that and you're confused, you're the person I'm talking about. Because an actual Star Wars fan will hear that and will be like, well, yeah. But a movie casual's like, no, it's a movie series. No, it's not. It's a series that has movies. There's a difference. It may have started off as a movie, but it's not a movie series. There is so much more to the canon of Star Wars that you are just completely fucking missing. Which wouldn't be too bad, except these are the same people that then just have the gall to tell you that something is or is not Star Wars. And I actually ran into the same thing with the movie Predators, where people are watching Predators and bitching about the canon, and I'm like, do you know about the canon of Predators? Because you probably don't. I'm willing to bet you really don't. You know? I'm willing to bet what happened is you watched the 3 movies, or the 4 movies now, and think that's it, but it's kind of not. There's actually books and comics as well. And granted, most of what I know from the Predator franchise actually comes from the AVP franchise, which is different, despite what the movie would try to tell you otherwise. But from the AVP franchise, the Predators are completely in a thing, because everyone's like, oh, they don't cheat, they don't fucking augment themselves, they don't do this. I'm like, if you read the AVP books, pretty much universally the problems arise because one of the young hunters gets it up their ass that the old ways are bullshit and goes completely off the rails. That's just kind of how things work in the Predator universe. It turns out very few of them actually have all the honor and integrity that you would expect them to have. And they're basically just kind of assholes. So yeah, when I see the Predators movie, I'm not turned off by it. I'm not saying, oh, this isn't the canon, etc. Because it really fits in. Hi, Winkles. Go lay down, sweetie. I can't give you cuddles right now. I'm doing recordings. Come on, Winks. I love you, but you need to get down, baby girl. Don't you fight. Take this potato. Do I have seeds still? I do have seeds, yay. Alright, let's plant these seeds then. But yeah, I'm just done with the fucking Star Wars crowd. I really am. I legitimately hate Star Wars fans, and that's fucking stupid. And I hate using this phrase because everyone hears this phrase and they think you're an SJW, but Star Wars has the most toxic fucking fandom I've ever seen in my goddamn life. You get me any other fandom and we can sit down and talk shop. Like when you get Star Wars or Star Trek nerds in a room, you'll disagree on what shows are good and whatever, you know. Like some people love Discovery, some people hate Discovery. I have no opinion, having never seen it. You know, some people think Enterprise is just complete garbage. Some people think it's the best. Some people love Deep Space Nine. Some people love Voyager. Some people love Next Gen. It's just how things operate. But here's the thing when you come to Star Wars. With Star Wars fans, you love the original trilogy, and that's where the conversation stops. If the conversation doesn't start with Empire Strikes Back is the greatest movie, then the conversation's over before it ever could start. You know, if at some point in the conversation you don't say that Jar Jar Binks is the worst character ever, or that the prequels were garbage, or that you hate the Disney era, or whatever, you're done. There is a script to follow, and if you don't, you get fucking excommunicated. There is no ad-libbing in the Star Wars fandom. You know? And that's the problem. There is no difference of thought. Like, I have had my fucking fan card called into question so many times for liking the prequels. Period. Just, oh, you like the prequels? You're not a Star Wars fan. Fuck you. You know? I've read more fucking books than you. The books don't count. Yeah, they actually do. And that's the problem we've run into, is you have these idiots who don't realize that there's more to Star Wars than what little they fucking know. And it's kind of goddamn sad. Do I have any leather in here? I don't think so. Wait, yes I do. Yes, I do. And I just can't fucking talk to those people. I really can't. I wish I could, but I just, there's nothing there. There's no fucking middle ground to work with. You know, it's just... The Star Wars fan base is a very my way or the highway system, and it's fucking dumb. It shouldn't be that way. It never should have been that way. I mean, I don't care one bit about the Fate of the Jedi series. Because I think Fate of the Jedi is when it's way, way in the future, like long after Luke Skywalker died of old age kind of shit, you know? Like Luke's great-great-great-great-grandson kind of guy. I think that's Fate of the Jedi. I have no interest in that era. That is so far removed from any of the characters that I know and care about that I could not give less of a shit about it. Meanwhile, my friend hates the new Disney canon because it erased that era. Because that era will never have another book written about it. And you know what? I don't go like, oh, you're a nerd for liking that, or you suck for liking that, or whatever. No. That's the Star Wars he likes, and he's entitled to have it. Just like I like the Clone Wars era, and I'm entitled to have that. And if you like the Disney era, you're entitled to have that. I don't happen to like as much of the Disney era, but I don't hate it either. I'm just so sick of the movie casuals. And I've said it, and I maintain, I will fucking double, triple, quadruple down on this bullshit, that I would gladly take 20 years of yearly shitty Star Wars movies, if that's what it takes, to fucking chemotherapy the movie casuals out of the fandom. If that's what it takes to finally get rid of them, I'll do it. I'll fucking gladly do that shit. No ifs, ands, or buts, it's worth it to me to do that shit. Because, I'm sorry, but fuck those fans. I don't care if they have things that they like, because they don't fucking like things. Because those are the fans, and this is the thing that pisses me off, they keep saying Star Wars is dead, Star Wars is dead. I'm sorry, bitch, but Star Wars was never alive for you. Because here's the thing, most of these people hate everything made after Return of the Jedi, and some of the people hate the shit of Return of the Jedi as well. You know? So unless you happen to be old enough to have seen that in theaters, and some of the fans are, but not a lot of them, honestly. A lot of them are my age or younger. So unless you're one of those people, Star Wars had long since run its course long before you found it. Because all the shit that you hate is Star Wars now. And all the shit you loved stopped being the new shit a long time ago. You know? And I'm sitting here racking my brain trying to find a thing to compare it to, and I'm really coming up short on it. I don't know if it's because I just can't think of anything, or if because there's just nothing to compare it to. But I mean, you people are raising hell about shit that you haven't cared about in years, okay? And I maintain that if I ever meet the guy who played the character of the Nostalgia Critic, I'm going to punch him in the mouth. Because I wholeheartedly blame this attitude on him. And it's probably unfair, it's probably undeserved. I'm sure there were assholes long before that character emerged. But it really seems to me that the Nostalgia Critic character made it cool to hate everything. For good or bad reasons, just to hate movies. While claiming to love them, but meanwhile ferociously and maliciously tearing holes in them. Not for fun, or at least seemingly not for fun. I mean, I know it was for fun, but if you didn't know the character was just a character, which I did not for the longest time, I sat there watching this thinking, did this guy love any movies? Is he just some fucking void of happiness with no joy in his goddamn life? And the problem is, there are a lot of people who are like that legitimately. I have friends like that who literally every time a new movie comes out, oh, that sucks, oh, that's garbage, oh, they don't make movies that are good anymore. Then stop going to them. Okay, because I'm tired of hearing you bitch about them. If you go into a movie expecting to be pissed off, then I have no fucking sympathy for your dumbass. Because the thing, and this reached its height for me like a decade ago, where I would go on IMDb on the forums, the message boards kind of thing, because each movie would have its own message board, which they don't anymore, and honestly, this is partly why, I'm sure. But you go on the message board and you'd see people, and I still do this. I naively think that, oh, this is a good movie. Everyone liked this movie. I'm going to go online and watch others' reviews of it and just share in my love for this movie, only to find out that I'm apparently the only person on the planet who liked it. But I would go onto a movie's page on its forums and just see people trying to one-up each other on how quickly they walked out of the movie and demanded their money back. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And it's not just that they walked into a shitty movie and didn't have the patience to sit through it and wanted their money back. They went into the movie knowing, wanting to get their money back. Like, yeah, I knew this movie was shit. I made it 5 minutes in and got my money back. I'm like, really, bitch? 5 minutes in, they were still showing the credits. You know, what's your problem? I mean, what the fuck? That's the movie version of the frivolous lawsuit. But I still take an obscene amount of joy out of the fact that the movie casuals lost the Kenobi movie. They were so excited about the Solo boycott and the fact that Disney was pulling all these movies because of their boycott and all this shit because they bitched. And then so many of them got so upset that Kenobi was canceled. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, you fucking, you bought that. Enjoy it. If you're a child and you're taken to a nice restaurant and told you'll have ice cream at the end of the meal, and you fucking, your plan is to just, oh, I'm gonna raise hell, I'm gonna throw dishes, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna scream, I'm gonna cuss at mom and dad, I'm gonna smear shit on the walls, etc., and then we'll get out of here and I'll have ice cream. No, you're not having ice cream. You may never have ice cream again. You know, you're not getting ice cream for that. You're a bad kid, and you're being punished. And that's what happens. When you basically say to them, no Star Wars you give us will ever be good enough, and then they say, well, shit, I guess we're not making Kenobi. You have forfeited the right to cry about not having the Kenobi movie. Because that's all you. That is entirely your fault. Oh, that's a deep trench. Give me a second here to work that up. Damn it. Alright, we're going to sit right here. Oh, not that. Really? These are all the torches I have? Okay, going down. Neep. Neep. That's it? Nothing else? Anything back here? Waterfall of Destiny, maybe? Yeah? Nope, nothing of value whatsoever. Kind of like the Star Wars fandom. Nothing of value in it. But yeah, I'm just... The fucking gall of these people, that they're gonna raise that much hell and bitch and moan and whine and complain, and then have the nerve to cry that they don't get their way just exclusively, like they didn't cancel all these movies but get the one they wanted. No, that's not how that works. If you destroy Star Wars, you don't destroy Star Wars except the one you want to see. You destroy Star Wars. So, fuck these people. They don't get to have nice things. You know? I mean, shit, this falls into the case of if I were a multi-billionaire, I would personally fund the person that Disney hired just to write shitty movies to spite them. You know, I'd tell Disney, hey, I'll give you fucking $3 billion if you'll make 4 more Star Wars movies just like that one, and I'll fund them and everything, etc. Not because I thought Last Jedi was a good movie, because I really didn't care for it, but because I know it'll piss those people off, and fuck them. You know? Spite is a powerful thing, and I'm pretty damn good at it. Alright, I would love to find some iron. So, yeah, oh, fuck, there's iron right there. Yeah, this is the first iron I found in this whole fucking playthrough that didn't involve... Oh, god damn it. Stop! Did I just collapse this whole goddamn thing? Yes, I did. God damn it. I can't have nice things. I can't fucking have nice things. But yeah, I'm done. I'm done with those people. I really fucking am. At this point, it's whenever I see a channel, with a couple of rare exceptions where I know they've got a bunch of other shit that I know that I like off of them. If I see someone talking about Star Wars, I just tell YouTube, nope, don't want to see their channel. Fuck these people. Because odds are they have nothing to contribute to the actual conversation. And even a lot of people that I do like for other reasons, they talk Star Wars, and they talk about what big Star Wars fans they are and how much they love Star Wars. And not even 5 minutes into their thing, I can tell they don't know shit about Star Wars beyond the movies. And half of them didn't even fucking watch the movies that closely. Like, rather famously, I don't know how many people noticed it, but one of the guys I watched, Suit Yourself, he went off about The Last Jedi. And I wrote a fucking 2-comment thing. It took 2 whole comments to put the whole thing down where I addressed, didn't necessarily refute, but addressed every single point he raised. Every fucking one of them. Although in 3 or 4 cases, it was a case of, yeah, I agree with you on this, you know. But I literally brought up every single point he brought up and gave an actual nuanced fucking rebuttal to most of them, to the ones I disagreed with anyway. And his response was something akin to, if you're not going to do your research, I'm not even going to bother with you. I'm like, bitch, I've got 30 years of fucking nerd wrapped into this shit. I did my research. Don't fucking talk shit to me. You know? He's like, well, if you don't know what you're talking about, I'm like, bitch, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, he raised questions on shit that was brought up in other movies. You know? Like, one of the things he raised hell about was the fact that the First Order was made up entirely of white men. And it was basically, oh, white supremacy. I'm like, did you watch the original trilogy? Because there weren't a whole lot of women aboard the Star Destroyers. You know, oh, that's a hoe. There weren't a whole lot of aliens in the Empire. Meanwhile, there were a lot of women and aliens in the Rebellion. You know? So that's something that they didn't make up. That's just something that was in the canon for years, that the Empire was a white supremacist thing. The Empire himself was a human supremacist, in fact. It's only after Disney took over that you started seeing inclusivity in the Empire. Which is funny that that's where the actual tokenism is in the fucking Empire. The fact that suddenly white people or non-white people get to be the bad guys too, because it didn't used to be that way. It used to be if you were not white, you were in the Empire, or you were in the Rebels, rather. And now you have women in the Empire, you have a couple aliens in the Empire, you have black people in the Empire. You know, you have all sorts of shit in the Empire. Just watch Rebels. But, yeah, I mean, I like the guy, but he doesn't know his fucking ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to Star Wars. And not a lot of people do. You know? And I wouldn't mind if Star Wars was just a movie they liked. Like, I happen to have enjoyed the movie Axel. But for all I know, let's just assume that Axel is actually the first part of a 10-part book series, and it just got made into a movie. And if someone comes up to me and says, "Oh, I'm a huge fan of this series, of the RoboDog series," let's call it, you know? Like, "Oh, I saw Axel, I had a lot of fun with that." I can't claim to be a fan of the RoboDog series because I've only seen the movie Axel. I don't know shit about it, you know? And anyone that I made that claim to about, like, "Oh, I'm a huge fan of this series," would be right to call me out on my shit. Because it would be blatantly obvious that I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. Oh, okay, I'm about to say, did I just attack the fence with a carrot? I mean, it wouldn't be the strangest thing I've done this week, but wow, really? But anyway. Yeah, it might actually be a while before I'm able to go fishing again, because we've been getting slammed by red tide here in Florida. Like, apparently it's getting a lot worse. And if that drifts far enough in, well, the fishing's gonna dry up. But yeah, is it too much to ask to have a Star Wars fan base that loves Star Wars? And I don't mean, oh, they love the idea of Star Wars, or they love what Star Wars used to be, or what Star Wars could be, but they actually legitimately fucking love Star Wars. Because I'm one of those people. Because, you know what? When Solo came out, I don't like Han Solo as a character. I don't. I don't hate him, but if you'd asked me, if you had laid 3 movie ideas on the table in front of me, you know, one about, say, Han Solo, one about Princess Leia, and one about, oh, I don't know, Lando Calrissian, and told me to pick 2 of them, Han's would be the one left on the table, because I don't like him. You know, Lando has more charisma. Leia, I think, is just a better all-around character. I didn't pick Luke because, well, I actually like Luke. Luke's a Jedi. You know, that would be unfair. But yeah, if given the choice to have it made, you know, I'd have voted against Solo, flat out. I'd have said, no, don't waste your time on this movie. Don't waste your money making this shit. I'm not gonna watch it. Or I don't want to watch it, rather. But because I love Star Wars, I said, you know what? I hate the Rebel era. I don't much care for Solo. But you know what? This is Star Wars. I'm going to go to the theater and give it a shot. And you know what? I loved it. And I not only didn't expect to, I expected not to. I expected to sit in that theater throughout the entire movie and not be too enthused at all. I expected to be rolling my eyes. I expected to be bored. I expected to spend half the time wishing I could play on my phone. And I was pretty enthralled with almost the whole movie. And when Lando's droid came on the screen, I rolled my eyes. I'm like, oh yeah, I see why people hate this droid. And I hated her too. And then 5 minutes afterwards, the rest of her personality came out. And I'm like, oh, she's actually a pretty well-rounded character. Okay, I can live with this. You know? Unlike C-fucking-3PO, who is the same character in his first scene as he is in the entire franchise. Just a whiny butler who serves no fucking purpose. I just recently finished up an audiobook of... it's called From a Certain Point of View, and it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it to actual Star Wars fans who are invested in any way, shape, or form in the canon. Anyway, this book is a series of short stories about just minor things that happen between Rogue One and, you know, the end of A New Hope. Oh, hi. And Chapter 40 is one of my favorites. It's called Wills. And for those who don't know, Star Wars was originally marketed as like, oh, from the Journal of the Wills. The original novel, which I... Oh, you're armed now. Okay, that's interesting. But the original book mentioned that the story you're reading is from the pages of the Journal of the Wills, etc. Right? And anyway, chapter or short story number 40 is called Wills, and it's about the Wills. It's about a specific Will who is writing. He was chosen by the other Wills to pen the story of Star Wars into the journal. And he does the opening crawl of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And the whole time he's trying to write this, another one of the Wills just comes in and starts snarking and nitpicking at him. Like, oh, how can you skip the Clone Wars? How can you skip all these characters? How can you skip Darth Maul? You know? And it actually goes on to basically state that particular Will is responsible for writing about the Star Wars Holiday Special. Like, I'm going to write my own story about Chewie celebrating Life Day. But it was pretty cute. And it's just all these nitpicks. And when the second Will found out he was going to do like everything from the Death Star, it's like, oh, okay, so you're going to do K2SO or whatever. And the first Will's like, no, I'm not doing K2. I'm gonna start with R2 and 3PO. And the other Will's raising hell like, how are you skipping him and going to 3PO? He sucks. He's like, well, he's gonna be important on Endor. It's like, oh, please tell me you're not putting the teddy bears in there. But yeah, it was a nice little tongue-in-cheek moment for actual Star Wars fans who know what the fuck's going on. But then again, let's be honest, if you're reading or listening to the book, then you're better than the movie casuals already. Because the movie casuals don't seem to realize there are books. And if they do realize, they sure as shit don't care. Also, more iron. That's always good. Especially since I got flooded out of my last iron. But yeah, I might do an extended review of a certain point of view. And to do that, I'm basically going to have to chop it up into chapters and listen to each one again and do the review. And some of them suck. I mean, some of them are just absolute unadulterated garbage. Like, one of the ones I was looking forward to. It's not just like, oh, this sucks because it's some character no one cares about. No, some of them, on paper, when I saw that they existed, I'm like, oh, I'm going to love this chapter. Nope. Nope, I'm really not. But, as an example, Palpatine. Palpatine had a chapter. I'm thinking, ooh, we never found out what Palpatine was up to during A New Hope. This should be interesting. Nope. It is completely out of left field. It is fucking dumb, and it is almost to the point where it's out of character for Palpatine. Because the whole time, he is... shit. He is basically doing poetry the whole fucking time. Like, he's speaking in rhyme, which could be forgivable. I mean, except he's doing it in fucking Shakespearean rhyme with thous and shit. Which I'm sure, yeah, that's probably not actual Shakespearean, but you know what I mean. It basically Palpatine reading The Raven. And I'm like, no, this completely takes me out of the whole fucking thing. But yeah, that's an example of one of the shittier chapters. And there are a couple. There are a couple chapters where I'm like, can this just end, please? And then there are a couple that I to this day, and I've been listening to them throughout the past month, that right now, if you asked me, I could not fucking tell you what happened. And there's a couple that started off slow and got better, like the whole Cluehorn caper sounded really stupid until I started getting into the story. And then there are a couple that were just fantastic for one reason or another, like basically any of the ones watching the Death Star run were really good. A surprisingly good one was like the second or third chapter, where you had this woman who's a bureaucrat, and her whole job is basically just doing paperwork aboard the Devastator, which was Vader's Star Destroyer. And the whole story is her talking about, or not talking about, but her helping the guy who ordered the gunner not to shoot the escape pod. It's basically helping him not get executed for that by basically faking repairs, basically putting through all the paperwork to say, hey, my gun didn't work, I had to get repairs done, that's why I didn't shoot, etc. And creating this, like, fucking Super Star Destroyer length of red tape to just confuse and befuddle anyone who might even question the thing. And that was surprisingly fun. There was a lot of fun stories. There were a couple really dumb ones. You know. Like the Mouse Droid one was okay, or at least it would have been, if half the dialogue hadn't been the Mouse Droid looping through its commands, like, basically like, it would register that someone had said something, and then it would repeat it, and then say, okay, response required, give an affirmative beep kind of thing, you know? But when you take all that shit out, which is, I'm not even exaggerating, about a third of the book, or of the story is that. It's that prevalent. Basically, anytime anyone tries to interact with that particular mouse droid, you go through that whole loop of his commands and shit. And every now and then he'll do self-diagnostics where he'll go through all of his parts and go like, optimal, suboptimal, optimal, optimal, etc. And he does it like 4 or 5 times throughout the story. And if you take that shit out, then it's a lot better. Or if that had been, you know, a chapter of a larger book instead of being a singular short story, it basically struck me, well, it strikes me now, I didn't think much of it because I was riding the bus at the time, but now it actually strikes me as padding, like they didn't have enough to actually fill the story, so the author filled it with that bullshit. But it turns out that particular mouse droid for the thing belonged to TK-421, who was one of the stormtroopers that Han and Luke killed for a disguise aboard the Death Star. And it's basically a story of him trying to get promoted and shit. And it turns out through the mouse droid having a little mishap, TK-421 comes to the attention of a high-ranking officer who's very heavily implied to be Tarkin. It's never actually stated, but basically there's only a handful of people it could have been, and one of those people is Vader. You know. So Vader, Tarkin, maybe one of 2 or 3 other people, but it's almost certainly Tarkin. And it basically implies that Tarkin is either gay or bisexual. Which I could care less, you know? I mean, if he's gay, he's gay. If he's bi, let him do his thing. And it was actually a surprisingly minor part of the story. You know, it just kind of... It just kind of glossed over it. To be fair, the reason they glossed over it is because they'd either shut the mouse droid down or wipe its memory every time they were together with it. So that there wasn't evidence of this shit. And the funny part is it was legitimately starting to stress the droid out that there were these huge gaps in his memory to the point where TK-421, every time he powered up, had to say, no, buddy, don't worry, those spots are missing on purpose. You know? But it was a cute enough story. It wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't horrible either. The story about the Red One was pretty good. There was this cute story about a Jawa in the Sandcrawler, who his job was to basically memory wipe the droids, you know? And he, of course, got a hold of R2 and was going to memory wipe him. What he was actually doing was he had found a holo player, a holo projector, and he would pull a droid's memory out and then watch its memories as a holo recording and then wipe them. And he had to do that to R2. And Star Wars fans know R2 has never had a memory wipe. So he watched everything from the Phantom Menace all the way up to the start of A New Hope. He watched the whole fucking thing from the flight from Naboo all the way up to being shot down over Tatooine. And even though he couldn't understand it because he's a Jawa and he doesn't speak half those languages, he basically sensed that there was something way too important and that he shouldn't fuck with that droid. You know? It's like, no, I can't bring myself to wipe this, etc. Yeah, there was a lot of fun stories in that book. I had a lot of fun with it. And it was one I was looking forward to when I first saw it and downloaded it from the library, legally. I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, this will be fun. You know, I'm gonna enjoy this, and I did. Because that's a special ability that I happen to have, that I can fucking enjoy shit. You know, I can legitimately find pleasure in reading stuff that I like, or watching stuff that I like. And quite frankly, the world needs more of that shit. Because, to tell you the truth, if you people are playing or pretending or acting like you hate shit, you're doing way too damn good a job. So anyway, I'm kind of tired. So I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to go to sleep for a while. Goodbye, everybody.